You've probably heard all the buzzwords a million times, right? Agile, Git, CI/CD, code review. They're basically the language of modern software development. But how do they all actually fit together when a developer sits down to work? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. We're going to turn that jumble of terms into one clear, connected story of how great software actually gets made.
And that's the real trick, isn't it? I mean, anyone can look up the definition of version control, but understanding how it actually plugs into a system of testing and collaboration and automation, that's where it all clicks. So we're about to turn that abstract list into a concrete step-by-step journey. So here's our game plan. We'll start by looking at the key pieces. Then we'll figure out the philosophy that guides everything. After that, we'll walk through the whole cycle, from the moment a task is assigned all the way to getting that code merged. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, from pieces to process. You know, before we can really see the whole picture, we've got to understand the parts. This is where we'll see how all these individual ideas come together to form one really powerful system.
So these are our building blocks. But I want you to notice something. These aren't just separate topics you have to memorize for an exam. Version control, testing, code review, automation, they're all interconnected tools. Each one feeds right into the next, creating the very foundation of an effective, modern workflow.
Now that we've got the pieces on the board, let's find our direction in Section 2, the Agile North Star. See, before we dive into the how of the daily grind, we really need to get a handle on the why. What's the ultimate point of all this process and structure anyway?
And this is it. This is our North Star. Everything, single thing we're about to talk about is designed to serve this one single principle. Is it small? Is it safe? Does it actually deliver value? This is the lens we're going to use to look at the entire process. Okay, enough theory. Let's get practical. Section 3, starting the work safely. This is where a developer's day really begins, not with a blank screen, but with a clear purpose and a secure foundation to start building on.
Everything starts right here. And believe it or not, the first thing a developer does isn't writing a single line of code. It's understanding the mission. It all kicks off by getting a clear, well-defined task.
Now pay attention to the principle here. The task isn't just some random thing to do. It's a specific user story. What that means is every single piece of work is directly tied to a real need from a real customer. Right from the get-go, the focus is on delivering real value, not wasting time on features nobody asked for. So you've got your clear goal. The next step isn't to just start hammering away at the main project. Nope. The next crucial step is to create a safe space to build. This is that safe step idea in action for the very first time. By creating what's called a feature branch using something like Git, you're completely isolating your changes. It's kind of like having your own personal workshop. You can experiment, build, break things, and fix them, all without any risk of messing up the main project for the rest of the team. All right, on to Section 4, building with confidence. We have our task, we have our safe branch, now it's time to actually write some code. But how do we do it in a way that gives us confidence that it actually works? This is the core creative loop for any developer. You write the code to solve the problem, and, just as important, you write the tests that prove it's been solved correctly. You see, tests aren't just some chore you do at the end. They're a super critical part of the process. They basically act as a living specification for what done actually means, and they become a safety net that catches issues down the road. When all your tests pass on your own computer, you've officially cleared the first hurdle.
And this brings us to a really important idea, the quality gate. Passing your tests locally is that first personal gate. It's you, the developer, confirming to yourself, yep, this does what it's supposed to do. This step is totally non-negotiable before you even think about sharing your work with the rest of the team.
Okay, so your code works great on your machine. Now what? It's time for teamwork. Welcome to Section 5, Collaborate and Automate. You've confirmed it works in your personal workshop. The next step is to see how it plays with the main project. Now, critically, you don't just force your code into the main project. You formally propose the change. And this simple act is what kicks off the entire collaboration and review process. A pull request or a PR is so much more than just a technical thing for merging code. Think of it as an invitation for a discussion. It's the dedicated spot where your teammates can look at your work, offer suggestions, and together you make it better. It really builds this sense of shared ownership. Now, once the human reviewers are happy, there is one last automated check that has to give the thumbs up before the work is truly, officially done. And this, my friends, is the magic of continuous integration, or CI. The second you open that PR, an automated server grabs your code, builds the whole project from scratch, and runs every single test. This is the final, completely unbiased quality gate. It's the ultimate guarantee that your change doesn't just work on its own, it works safely with everybody else's contributions.
Okay, we've gone through all the individual steps. So for our final section, Section 6, the full development cycle, let's zoom out and see how this all connects into one continuous loop.
And here it is, the entire workflow in one elegant loop. You get a small task, you safely isolate it in a branch, you build and test it, you propose the change for iterative feedback, and finally, you let automation verify and merge it. Then, the cycle starts all over again with the next valuable task.
And this brings us right back to where we started, our North Star. Why do we go through all these hoops? Because every single part of this cycle, the small tasks, the safe branches, the iterative feedback, the automated checks, it's all meticulously designed to fulfill this one core mission.
So as we wrap this up, I want you to think about this cycle, from getting the task to isolating, building, proposing, and automating. Which one of these links is the strongest in your own process? And maybe more importantly, what's the one link in your workflow chain that you could focus on and strengthen today?